I move to finally take my own shot. The lack of talking between us is filled by the chatter of other patrons and the band at the other end of the club. Spying a shot that doesn't look too difficult, I try and shoot for it. The cue ball taps the ball and the trajectory is about right, but I put too much power in. It grazes the corner of the hole and moves off to the side, just skirting the pocket. I grip my teeth a little. I was pretty good at this game, and it's frustrating to have deteriorated so much. I step back and let Hanako, oh god, can't mess up her name, Hanako take her turn, glancing towards the counter where Lily and Akira are sitting. They're talking busily between themselves and seem to be having a good time. I turn back to Hanako as she takes her shot. With the same face as before, she lines herself up and sharply pushes the cue. Just as before, she sinks the ball she was aiming for. It drops into the side pocket more cleanly than her last, though it looks as if she's getting a bit more into the groove of the game. Nicely done. She hesitates for a moment and begins to address me without turning her head. The orphanage was nice. It feels a bit like Yamaku does, and the staff were really kind. But as the years went on, I realised something was different. It feels strange to hear her speak so candidly about herself. She's audibly forcing the words out. It reminds me of when she insisted she tell me about the fire. Hanako must feel that she has to tell me of such things, if I'm willing to tell her about my own tongues. Her grip on the cue tightens as she continues to speak. Most of the children there were up for adoption, just like I was, but unlike me, they gradually left, one by one. By the time I went to Yamaku, I was among the oldest children there. For a while, I helped with some of the younger children, but eventually, I lay her hand on her shoulder. She's forcing herself by now. It's okay. She looks mildly surprised for a moment, then nods before setting down her cue and turning towards me. Do you really think so? Yeah, I think so. Even while Lily's away, I'll be around to protect you, right? Hanako looks at me for a long time, and I'm taking a bit off guard. Her expression hasn't changed from before, still looking somewhat maudlin, and silence between us aren't unusual. I think it's the fact that she's holding such prolonged eye contact that makes this feel a bit odd. It feels as if she's judging me. It's a very strange, vaguely uncomfortable feeling. Hanako? I understand. Thank you. She smiles and looks away a little, but it feels stilted. Hanako isn't very good at faking emotions, and this is no exception. I move to the table and take my turn and try to distract myself, but it doesn't seem to work. Does she think I'm not up to the task of helping her? Is she disappointed in me? I'm probably overthinking this. While her silences are just an accepted fact of life by now, sometimes I do wish she'd speak more. With a thud, I send the white sphere careening down the table into my target. Oh, sorry, that was a Hanako sees what's happening just as I do. Ball hits hard with the striped ball I'd intended to sink veering off towards the 8 ball. Sure enough, as both Hanako and I look on and bite our lips, they connect. They connect and the black ball rolls sagely into a corner pocket. I thought they were talking about our lips connecting. I was like, ooh. Ooh. All I can do is sigh. It looks like Hanako is smiling again though, so maybe it wasn't for naught. That was an awful shot. You win. It seems I'm getting pretty rusty after all this time. Hanako bends down and begins to shoot the remaining balls in the closest pockets. That was an intentional pause, if you didn't realise. I almost asked if we could play another game, but a quick check of my watch confirms that the night is getting pretty late. 'Tis getting late, milady. Lily and Akira appear to still be drinking at the counter, getting absolutely shit-faced. Seems like we'll have to drag them away. Hisao. I turn back to Hanako, who's still looking over the pool table shooting balls. Her voice sounds different from before. I'm here for you as well. I suddenly find myself blushing. It's only natural that she'd respond this way, given what I said earlier, but it's still a shock to actually hear it. couple in love. Couple of lovebirds. Just what is my relationship with this girl? I want to protect her, to make her happy. I'm not really sure that it's something like love, but I don't think these are the same kind of feelings I have for Lily either. I feel sorry for her, having gone through so much in her life. Her parents died in a house fire and she lived in an orphanage for much of her childhood. I can't even imagine that kind of life. But I feel there's so little I can do for her, especially now that Lily is going to be leaving the country. Hanako and I finish tidying up the table and pews, and pick up Lily and Akira on our way out of the club. Feels like something changed between Hanako and me. I can't quite place what it is, but Hanako is acting differently now. I feel like we're further apart, if anything. What? So, you enjoy yourselves? Hanako and I both nod and agree. The game was good and we both did learn more about each other, so it's an honest answer. Lily appears to be a little distracted. Worried about the trip, Lily? She pauses before sighing and smiling weakly. A little. It means quite a bit. The comment earns her a clap on the shoulder from her sister, and Hanako smiles back too. You'll be okay, Lily. I hope you can enjoy your time over there. Thank you, Hanako. I'll try to. It will be nice to be back with my family after all, no matter for how brief a time it may be. With that, the four of us begin to walk to the car park where Akira's car is. We continue to talk between ourselves, but it's mostly just small talk. I don't know how Hisao seems to think that the distance between me and Hanako is further apart when they just sort of opened their feelings just to them before. Right then, are you taking the bus, Lily? Oh, we must be the next day. Okay, right. Lily motions to a large suitcase standing beside her. I'll have to take this with me, so I've booked a taxi. It'll meet us at the school gates in about 5 minutes. Now, the gentlemanly thing to do here, Hisao, is go, oh, don't worry about it, I've got your suitcase. You better fucking do it. Oh, I see you. What is that? Lily reaches down and feels out the handle of her suitcase. Its weight causes her some difficulty, so I quickly offer to take it myself. Yeah, you better. That is awfully kind of you, Hisao. She has no qualms about accepting, and I end up picking it up. It's not what I'd call light, but it's not exactly heavy either. I don't think I'll have too much trouble carrying it. Don't be a weak ass. Yeah. Well, thank you then. We should hurry though. If the taxi leaves, then it will take quite a while to book a new one. Are you ready, Hanako? Yeah, let's go. We rush to the gate as fast as we can, only to find that the taxi has yet to arrive. Well, nothing like a bit of exercise in the morning. The nurse told me that I should be doing that. I think you probably had other things in mind, Hisao, and probably with more regularity. Do you intend to be helping people with their luggage every day? Actually, I do. Alright, your sarcastic little tone there, Lily, is not appreciated. I guess not. Looks like we've got a bit to wait anyway. How long should we wait for the taxi before calling them again? I would say another 10 minutes, but they've never let me down before. There's probably just a little traffic. Okay then. So how long is the flight to Scotland? About 16 hours if I remember correctly. It's a bit hard to tell with the changing time zones. So long. It's now that I realise Hanako's been unusually quiet, even for her. She doesn't handle stress well, so she's looking really uptight. Yeah, I can imagine being on a plane for that long. I can't imagine being on a plane for that long. I've only ever flown on a short family holiday up north, so it really is quite hard to fathom. If Hanako spent so much of her childhood at an orphanage, she's probably travelled very little, let alone flown. It's not too bad. I'll spend most of it either asleep or catching up on my English. I hardly use that there here, so I need to refamiliarise myself with it a little. See that? I didn't fuck up the word that time, however it did have re in front of it. Will your accent be a problem? I wouldn't worry about that too much. It may be an issue initially, but I should be fine once I get used to it. It's your family, I hardly think they're gonna not understand you. We all moved to sit down on the small bench beside the school gates in silence. Strangely enough, even though I know that Lilia is going away, I can't think of anything to say to her. Lilia is a reliable person, so it might be because she isn't the one that I'm thinking of most. Thinking about Hanako. Lily might not be able to see it, but Hanako is chewing her fingernails nervously. I move to talk to her, but I can't hear an engine. But I can hear an engine straining up the hill before I get the chance. Ah, I think the taxi is on its way. Well spotted, Hisao. I only just heard it as well. A small wave of pride washes over me. To have noticed something at the same time as Lily must mean that I've become more aware of my surroundings. I suppose hanging out with a blind person would sort of make you, I guess, improve your other senses more. I don't know. Anyway, we won't have to call the taxi company, nor worry about missing Lily's train. Once the taxi stops where we're standing, the driver rolls down a window and leans over. After confirming that yes, Lily is the same Lily Satao that booked the trip, we sort out her luggage. The driver opens the trunk of the taxi and takes Lily's suitcase, with Lily climbing into the back seat as he loads it into the trunk and slams it shut. After getting back into his seat and shutting the doors, he waits for us to say our farewells. Have a safe trip, Lily. Take care of yourself. Hanako looks understandably downcast, and that much is obvious even in her voice. Of course I will. I'll be back before long, don't worry. There will still be another person here for you too, won't there, Hisao? Yeah, of course. I turn and smile to Hanako, putting my hand on her shoulder. She only manages to keep eye contact with me for a couple of seconds, her cheeks red all the while before turning back to Lily. Kinda cute. See you, Lily. Not kinda cute, it is Lily. Look, oh my god. I'm just gonna stop talking. Just quit life. Goodbye. Okay. Lily gives her farewells to the both of us with a fair measure of reluctance. Without further ado, the driver starts the engine once more and they begin the journey down the hill and towards the airport. The two of us stand at the gates for a long time, even after they've disappeared from sight, not really knowing what to do, and with that understandably confused Hisao and Hanako stand there looking at each other, confused on what they should do. So they just continue to look at each other, staring into each other's gaze, realizing that they both love each other. I'm terrible at making things sound really lovey-dovey. Anyway, that's it for tonight because my throat is really sore and that's about the only excuse I can come up with right now. So yeah. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.